Tiffany Harkey, our Director of Children and Family Ministry, to talk about the programs. And we are in the nursery in front of Noah's Ark here as our background. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you, David.
Why don't you start off telling us something about your responsibilities in the program?
Well, basically my job is to do a little bit of everything. That's what I kind of figured out. And it changes daily, but really I'm over the children's ministry, and I'll handle the volunteers that are both in the nursery and our Sunday school classes. And I handle the children's messages in our church service. And on top of that, I also do the chapels at our day school, which has been a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And of course, helping organize events, for the holidays. Mm-hmm. And so I dabble a little bit into everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your background. What makes you qualified for this position?
Well, I was raised, ironically, in a church that looks very similar to this.
Oh, really?
At a Methodist church in Richmond, Virginia. And my parents and I laugh about how Pastor Dave reminds us of the Reverend that we grew up with. So it's kind of like I've come full circle. But I just can't emphasize enough the importance of your parents building you up and raising you in a church, which is why I think I'm here. But I grew up in the church, went about life on my own. At that point, you start having babies and you're married and you don't have your parents saying, get up, go to church, and life happens. And I realized there was something missing. And I was born again in 2014 and handed my life over to Christ. And I started teaching at a Christian preschool program, and I was teaching kindergarten. And through that, I would volunteer with the church and help with Vacation Bible School and chapels and things like that. But, since then, I've just followed wherever the Lord has told me to go. And I really never had a real plan. It was just, okay, what do you want me to do? And it's taken me from here to here to here. And now I've ended up at St. Matt's, and I can see why God's put me here. And I knew it in the beginning, again, just kind of walking in here and seeing the similarities from how I grew up. But I came in, right in the heart of COVID. So when I got here, I really didn't get to see the church. And I spent my time on Zoom doing chapels with the day school kids and got to know the congregation by just joining different Bible study groups. So all of my relationships really were built on Zoom. And then I started getting a little more involved in the day school, but life has happened here. I don't know what it is. It's been wonderful. Like I said, I started on Zoom, and then we slowly came back into service. And I remember Jim Humphrey sending me a picture one day after the children's message, and it was me with one child. And I was good with that. I mean, I was nervous, so I thought, okay, we're good. But, I started off there, and now I have just seen it grow in different ways. I think what I'm noticing now is it started off with, okay, we had some kids that were already here, established at the church. And then I think the day school, by me kind of helping out over there, we started pulling in kids from the day school. Okay. The big thing I'm seeing now are children in our surrounding areas, the apartment complex next door, that have been joining. So I'm looking at this now thinking there's really kind of three groups joining as one. And to my surprise, we started our Wednesday night events, and I thought, okay, we'll just follow like we have done before, and we'll shut this down before the holidays, give everybody a break. And I talked to Pastor Dave a couple weeks ago, and I said, I don't think I can shut it down on the children's end because there's momentum here, and they want to come, and they're asking when they see me, is it Wednesday night, So we are adding this year. I've got 2 Wednesday nights just for the children in December, which will be great. So I'm super excited about that.
Tell us a little bit about the Wednesday night program, because that doesn't fit into most people's idea of Sunday schools and that kind of thing.
Right.
What do you do on Wednesday
Well,
nights?
I'll tell you, to me, the Wednesday night is really where I feel like St. Matthew's is a church. because I'm seeing all these different groups coming together because I'm basically leading the children. Then you've got our youth director has all of the youth coming with us. And then we have the music, the choir, whatever adult Bible studies are going on. So we all gather together and eat together. And we'll have communion sometimes. And this is the moment where you look around and go, this is a family. And to me, that's what we should be. As a church, this should be our spiritual family. And then from there, we'll break off. So, I'll go off with the kids and we'll have a different activity depending on what time of the year it is that fits our curriculum, and we'll focus on that, and we'll have crafts, and at the same time all these other groups are going off and practicing for worship or going to adult Bible study. And my kids are heavily involved in the youth program, so they're loving that. But yeah, Wednesday night's been really, I would say that's where I've seen the most unity in the church, because outside of that, again, I'm kind of in different areas where I'm at the day school and then I'm at the office, and that's the night where I'm seeing everything come together, and it's beautiful. And again, on Sunday we have that as well, but it's still different because kids are off in classrooms, and this is like we're all together as a family, and I'm super excited about the future.
Oh, good. Tell us something about how you prepare for Sunday morning. I know a lot of us enjoy your story time as much as the children do, probably.
Well, it's different every time, but I spend a lot of time every day in the Word. And that can be in the Bible, it can be in me listening to sermons. And so I feel like I always have this open line of communication where I'm speaking to God about give me ideas, and sometimes I'll get something really quick and easy, and then I'll go punch in an idea online, and okay, look at this prop. We'll put this with it. Other times it's not as easy, and I'm like, come on, tomorrow's Sunday, But that's how God works, and it teaches us patience, and and it increases our faith that way. But typically, how I start is looking at what our verses for the day, and thankfully we have plenty of notice because our worship grid is, established before then. So I'll kind of go to the verse and think about it, how it applies in my life. And then from there, I have to think about, okay, well, I'm a 42-year-old woman. I'm not a child. So, and that is probably the most difficult part. I think that would surprise me when you hear ministry. I would have thought, it's easier if you're teaching children. For me, that's not been the case. It's really had to challenge me to say, okay, they're not going to understand what you're saying, and you need to apply this to, their age. So it's actually taught me a lot of growth. I think it would be easier for me if someone told me, I want you to go sit down and minister to, 40-year-old women. Okay, that wouldn't be that hard for me. But for the kids, it challenges me, and I think it's a lot of fun. But yeah, pretty much I'll start with that verse and pray on it, wait to see if I get a word, try to apply it to my life, and then condense it down. And then I go online too and get ideas. And a lot of times it may be I see one part from a sermon someone else did, and something on it doesn't fit for me, but something somewhere else, and I'll merge different messages even. But I would say for the most part, it's just I pray on everything I do. I really don't make many steps in my life without getting that confirmation. And in fact, I'm probably one of those, I get the confirmation and then I pray again, God, I know you already gave me the answer, but give me confirmation again. And I know you're laughing at me right now. And, but it's just the Holy Spirit. I would say that's where most of it comes from.
Seems like a good way to start any kind of venture.
I think so.
How many children are involved, say, on Wednesday night or on a Sunday morning?
Wednesday night, we consistently have 12 or 13 that come, but it's partly why I said let's not stop. I started seeing it growing, and we were up to 15, and that was with some of our kids that I was already planning on being here that were out for just various reasons not being here. So I thought, okay, we're probably potentially going to be at about 20, I'm thinking, in December on Wednesday night, and it's a good size. if you get too many kids, then, which is always a good thing, but it really does change what I'm able to do with the kids. You have to think on a different scale. But so right now I would say 12 to 15. Sundays, it really varies. It really does. It varies a lot. So I would say probably we have about 6 or 7 that are consistently coming up to church on Sunday. Yeah.
How is the table in the back of the sanctuary for the children? How is that working out? Is that?
I think it works great for the kids. It gives them a place to go. They know when we kind of go into the service, okay, I'm going to call you up, at the beginning of the service, so keep it together until then. And then we go up there and do our message, and they know after that, okay, now you can go to the back and you've got either crafts or just different Bible activity sheets that they can work on. And I think that's important because the parents need that time too to really be focused and centered on what the pastor is saying. And I think they've done a pretty good job. I think since I've been here in a year and a half, had one time where I thought, how do I sit in the middle of all of them? But I think it really is a good idea. I think it's good for the family as a whole.
When you talked about the various groups, the church children, the unchurched, and the neighborhood, and what have you coming together, sounds a lot like the youth program that's developing too. That sounds like a wonderful idea. It's not just us and our kids.
That's correct. When I first came here, again, my kids are involved in that youth program, and the director is one of my closest friends, and I was kind of watching, what is she doing? Because she's pulling these kids from the school she teaches at across the street, and we did talk about it. And I think for her it was, I'm starting with them by showing them a place of love, a place where they can come to and feel support, no judgment. And that's what we should be as the church. We shouldn't be coming in here as, I'm right wing, I'm left wing, I'm this, I'm that, I'm male, I'm female. All of that needs to leave, or keep it at the door. Like, this needs to be a place where we come and we get filled and we focus on what's important. And so I really saw a lot of growth that she was doing that way. She was pulling them in. Hey, after school, if you just want to come over, we've got a game room, and and the refrigerator's full, and you can do your homework in here. I've got crafts, and I have to say the youth group has changed too. I noticed this past week we were there, we had a couple kids that they hadn't been here previously. And I thought that was really cool. You're talking about males that are in high school showing up here. And I think, wow, that's really doing something. So I think she really led by example with that whole model of, get them in here, let them know this is a place of love. And on Sunday, I know the focus is more on scripture and really getting to learn about Jesus. And I really didn't come into this even thinking so much about, of course I wanted to pull the community in, but it was more of, okay, let me come in here and help them, with the group they already have. And then through me helping at the day school, it turned into, well, let me pull these kids in. And then it was just, I started seeing different people around the area and relationships I was building. And then this person would tell that person. Next thing you know, there's 2 more of their neighbors are there. And that's when I was able to step back and go, okay, God, I've trusted you each step where you've told me go do this and it didn't make sense to me. And now I can look back and go, now I know why you told me step up and volunteer and go over here. Now I know why you told me to move over here. Now it's all coming together. It's just, and that's really something I want the kids to know too. When you just follow step by step, it's one step at a time. Just listen to the Holy Spirit. Pray. You are not alone. God knows everything you're doing. And if you just trust Him, it all makes sense. It really does. It all works to our good.
You mentioned the day school and you're involved with that. Tell us a little bit more about exactly what you do with day school.
Okay. Well, I was heavily involved during COVID because even though the the church was still shut down. Not really, the church is us. It's not the building, but the day school was still open. And I just kind of felt like I need to be doing something. You know, of course I was doing chapel on Zoom, but in these Bible studies, but I just felt like, okay, God, I'm not doing enough. And I saw a need there. We just didn't have enough teachers. And especially during COVID, a lot of places are having a hard time getting teachers. And praise God, we are staffed now. But we were really going through just a shortage. And so I just kind of went in saying, what do you want me to do? And let me tell you, there isn't one position over there I haven't done. You know, it's just, this day I need you to be the cook. This day I need you to be in the nursery room and taking care of all the babies and making them their bottles. And on this day I need you to be with the toddlers and then with the preschoolers. There's been times that they didn't have anyone to go pick up the after-schoolers. So I would go pick up the after-schoolers. So I really don't think there is a position I have not done over there at the day school, actually, now that I think about it. But it's just been a wonderful experience, and it's just the love that these kids have when they look at life. As adults, we really could learn a lot by it. And I think it's probably why I like working with kids, is seeing that innocence, and I don't want it to be taken away from them. Now, naturally, you know, in life, little by little, those things happen, but I want to make sure they have that foundation to keep them strong, to just one step in front of the other. But yeah, the day school, really, to me, I mean, this is all just one. It's one big church. It's one big ministry to me, really. And those kids, I just adore them. I mean, I admit I go home sometimes and I'm like thinking about, oh, I hope this one's feeling better. They kind of looked funny today. They had a runny nose. You know, I really just genuinely love those children and the parents. And, you know, and even if some of these parents go to the other churches, we are the face. When we're at that day school talking to the parents, we're representing St. Matthew's. So that was something else I knew too. You know, it's just, hey, if over here on this end we're needing help, we need to step up and volunteer. And I'll tell you, this church has done a great job with that. And we have volunteers that come in and just rock the babies. And I'll, you know, 5 different volunteers each day were coming into the kitchen to cook. And that's what a church should do. You know, it doesn't matter the gift that our pastors have if they're the only ones applying it to their lives. And we're just showing up on Sunday, nothing's changing. They're just getting overworked, and we're just doing the check off. Oh, I went to church on Sunday, and I don't want us to be that type of church. And I've really loved seeing that that's not who we are, you know, and that we really need to just be unified together despite our differences.
You know, you mentioned the staff working together. That's one thing I've noticed, that our staff has coalesced as a group, and they help each other out, and I think that's really a wonderful part of the organization we have here right now.
Absolutely.
The way it works.
You know, I think I'm fairly new. I'm only here for a year and a half. James, our music director, is fairly new. Anna's been here longer, but even she hasn't been here for years. And we were all able to go to Florida together on a youth trip, which was just life-changing, I think, for all 3 of us. It's just, we went in there really not knowing each other and shared our testimonies with the children. And I mean, there was one night, it was so powerful, I just thought, I'll never forget this. There wasn't a dry eye in the room, and the 3 of us as directors all went home different. It was, you know, we're one. And outside of being here at church, we check in on each other. You know, we hold each other accountable.
Wonderful story.
Yeah.
Wow. If somebody wanted to be a volunteer or help you out, how do they go about that? I know there are some qualifications you have to meet to do that.
Right, and of course we would love to have any volunteers. We do go through safe gatherings. So basically they'll do a background check. They do ask for 2 references and just some other questions along with that. After that, there's 2 steps to this training, and one of them's easy. You're in and out. The hardest part is there is a 2-hour training. Due to COVID, that's really been something people have had to do on their own at home on the computer. I'm hoping the day will come where we can really kind of get a group of us together and meet in the fellowship hall, make some coffee, bring some cookies, and do it as a group so it doesn't feel so tedious, but it's worth it. And you're giving back, you're doing this for God. And, I think it's so important that we serve. And this church, if we want to grow it, we have to have people stepping up to serve. Outside of that, it's just, contact me at the office, by my email, come by the office, I'm usually running around here somewhere.
You mentioned you've been taking things as they come to you, but I was wondering, do you have any vision or ideas of what you would like the programs to grow into?
Yeah, I think for me, I've thought long and hard on a very traditional style church versus kind of the opposite, where you're seeing a lot of big churches now that aren't quite as traditional, and I've gone and attended both, and to me, I am a big person on balance. So I think that's kind of what I'm seeing is you have to change with the times, but we also need to still have a reverential fear of God, and we need to be teaching that. So I have more of that traditional side, but I also think I want this church to look like when you go outside, where we're every color, we're every age. It doesn't matter how much money you make. That's what a church should look like. But I do feel like for me right now, I'm seeing God working a lot on outreach, connecting with surrounding areas. I think that's huge, and I think we're going to get a lot of people that way. And I've had to be careful. I've prayed to God about, what do you want me to do? How do I make this bigger? And he's been very clear with me that I'm not worried about the numbers. I'm worried about what you're teaching and you guys being a church first. And once you have that down, I'll bring it all to you. So I think that's kind of the thing right now, that we're coming out of COVID. We're at this point where it's like, as a church, we need to kind of look down and have our mission statement as to what do we see this looking like, and what areas should we really be focusing on right now. I think we all agree outreach is a big part of that. But I think we're at a neat place in time because of COVID, and because you've got people that have come in that are new. It's a good time for the people that built this church, that have been here, that know the church, to kind of say, hey, this is what worked, this is what didn't. And then for those of us that are new to come in and say, hey, this is an idea I have, and then us together putting that picture together. And again, that goes back to kind of looking at should a church be more traditional? Or, it's just, I think that God has put the right people in this church. And it's important that everybody learns from each other, and that we all have a voice in what it looks like. It really shouldn't be one person. It should be, hey, we've been here, and again, this is what's worked for us, and we think you should do this. And just kind of being open to change on both sides, But I'll tell you this, I have no doubt that God's hands are on St. Matthew's at all. In fact, it's so big in my mind that, again, it makes me kind of start to panic, like, wow, he's going to do something with this. So then I have to go back to, okay, just baby steps. Because I don't want to go paralyzed with just, what do I do next? Because I figured that out in life, of just take it day by day. Follow me, hold my hand, and I'll show you the way.
You take a deep breath and one step at a time.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
You mentioned going out and people of all different kinds and colors and what have you. And I think our church is in a unique position that we have areas around us that are wealthy, some that are not so wealthy, some in the middle. We also have a variation of different ethnic groups around St. Matthew's. Around St. Matthew's. We have an opportunity to be a church for everybody. And I share that hope too with you. Absolutely. I think even the past couple weeks when Pastor Dave's been talking about, the Apostle Paul talking to the Corinthian church, and, and him just talking about the city back then, it is very similar to what we're living in right now. It's just you're one street away from where people are very well off, and then right here we're struggling, and
I also think that's where God's put me where I'm at. I mean, I'm living right by the church and I'm in the middle of it. And this is very different for me. And again, this was part of the call of I'm calling you out here. I'm not from right here in this area. I'm from Bernie, actually, but it was just kind of like, why am I over here? And now I get it, and I'm sitting in the middle of it and I'm seeing it as those relationships are built. And it happened earlier today. I thought, let me run to the gas station and go get a drink real quick. And I walked in and it was a neighboring apartment complex, someone that lived there, and her granddaughter had been coming to our Wednesday night, and she came up and said, hey, I want to buy her drink. And I thought, wow, those are the moments where you're like, okay, God, I see it. I see it all. I see what you're doing. I see why you've put me here. And just also knowing the importance of each one of those connections and the words we say, to that one person, how that can change a life.
This has been a wonderful time with you to understand what's going on and get to know you a little bit better. Is there anything else you would like to say before we end our interview?
I think just that I'm honored. I'm really honored to be here with the church, and it's been great getting to build relationships, and some have taken longer than others just because we're kind of passing. I'm working over here, and so that's been really cool to just kind of see over time, like, oh, okay, now I know who that is. And one of our great volunteers, Joanne, I have sat on the phone with her before saying, now who is this person and who is that? And I know who to go to. I've got the right connections to, make sure that I feel like I'm in the loop and I know who everyone is, and I'm finally there. Or it's just I walk in, I'm like, okay, I don't feel like the new director anymore. I feel like I'm at home, and but I'm really honored. I really am. I'm honored to be here, and I don't consider this a job. This is a calling on my life, and again, I will be here as long as the good Lord lets me.
Great. We're honored to have you here with us, and this has been a wonderful explanation and description of what you've been doing with your programs in the last year and a half. And so we thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.